Hello, everybody. Welcome to LowBlowRadio podcast, our first edition here. Chris, how are you doing?
Good, Eric. How are you doing?
Pretty good. We just finished a lovely episode of AEW Dynamite. It is, it's Wednesday?
June 10th.
June 10th, yes. So it's a great episode. What did you think?
I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I thought it was great. Moved along a lot of stuff and a hot opening.
Oh, yes. I think this is a great thing to kick off with. I think no better way to kick off than to bring out FTR. This was fantastic way to kick off the program and to really debut them out there. What did you think of their first performance?
We knew they were debuting this week. I was surprised to see them in the opening matchup. And I thought it was a great match. And Butcher and Blade, to me, I thought they're like FTR light almost. They are. Right. They're a smash mouth, as Jericho said several times. I wrote that down before Jericho said it the first time. But they're a smash mouth team as well. It led to that brawl match. No flips, just fists.
Absolutely.
Both teams put that on, and that made it a better match for them to be able to highlight what they're bringing to the tag team division.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Butcher and the Blade were much more like easy to focus on when they don't have Bunny on the outside. They didn't need that extra sort of valet distraction person or whatever. They're better off with just the two of them getting over as like these two big dominant guys in the ring. And yeah, this performance really helped showcase that. And Jericho on commentary was really putting them over. I liked his like stumbling over, wondering if he was from Escape from New York or Gangs from New York. He's like, one of those New York movies.
I thought the first thing that I thought when Jericho sat down with him was, who's going to get up and give up their chair? Oh, none of them are. The 4-man booth. Because that was always what we clamored for as wrestling fans, was a 4-man booth. But it worked. It was great. And I don't know if that's just because everybody slides naturally into a role. But Jericho is almost play-by-play and commentary. He just assumes the lead.
Yeah.
Ross and Shivani both fit in perfectly. Excalibur's like the here to be picked on kid. And I thought it worked. The teaming of the four of them was excellent.
Yeah, it's a rare occasion where you can get a good dynamic that way, where everyone sort of finds their like place. And I think, it was sort of the Shivani Jericho dynamic we were getting in the pre-taped ones that they had going on, and then sprinkled in now with JR, who's really sort of found his place a lot more now, with just peppering in those good sort of JR moments, not having to linger too much, and then Excalibur just covering the rest of the bases. So fantastic performance on commentary, as well as getting the rest of this match over, which always helps.
Especially JR did not one time call them the Revival, and that was my number one note, was how many times is Ross gonna but he didn't do it. Good for him.
Nope. Surprisingly enough, it didn't happen.
What they did harp on and on about, which again, I love it, but we'll see where this heads to. They harped on and on about Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard watching the match, sitting there, taking notes and scouting, obviously, FTR.
Right.
Because they're both interested now in being their manager, right? That's psychologically, that seed's planted for the fans now, that we know these two managers in AEW, and we know what legends they are looking at the FTR as their next studs. Now, last week, when FTR were on Jim Cornette's podcast, they spent a good bit of time going over Vince apparently trying to insult FTR, or the Revival at the time, by telling them, your problem is you're Tully and Arn. You're just great pro wrestlers.
Right.
And he meant that as an insult, and they took it as he's trying to insult us with this hefty praise as far as we're concerned. But the point that I'm getting at is they drove on this on the podcast. They went on and on about this as part of their leaving. And now this was driven on Dynamite. The Brainbusters in the audience. Here's Arn and Tully, the Brainbusters. Suddenly, I mean, if it had been an AEW show that they talked about this on a homegrown podcast, they would have mentioned We heard what Vince had to say to them about, but because it was Cornette's one, right? We're left just knowing, but they know in AEW that we're all marks for the product. They know if we don't
it
listen
could be in the
to
back
Cornette's
of your mind
podcast,
for sure.
It's going to get back to us that this was said on there. So this played off of a thing that Jim Cornette, the apparently anti-AEW guy, hates Kenny and hates the Bucks. If he's not going to show up when we have finally the week in who's it going to be, boys, Arn or Tully, who are you picking as your manager? Well, we're not signing with either one of you. We've already got a manager. And out he comes with his tennis racket.
Right.
If they don't go down this road, why did Jim Cornette spend the better part of his last podcast selling the Bucks versus FTR and now renaming the Shatter Machine, renaming that the, what did they call it? The
Good Night Express.
Good Night Express.
I mean, that's what caught me. I mean, I was like, I'm on the fence with this stuff because, I mean, they're always, you never know with Cornette and people dealing with Cornette, and it can come and go and that kind of stuff. And he's been in some pretty hot water lately, and people just sort of been feeling it's better off to just avoid than deal with them, right? But like I say, the seeds planted on the podcast seemed very, very interesting, and I was sort of like definitely willing to go down that trail. And then, yeah, little things in this match. I think at first I liked the idea of them being out there and it getting put over as like they were just scouts, and then they were just showing more and more people out to just go see FTR showing up finally in AEW. So it was a nice sort of like a way to push them over in that sense. And then but then they did sort of talk about it a little too much on the commentary, like when they dropped the brain buster. Of course, they mentioned Arn. Arn must have loved that, and like a little too over the head and stuff like that. But yeah, as soon as they hit the move, and Excalibur instantly knew to call it the new name, like that's obviously something they have pre-planned. And I mean, Goodnight Express is just ooh, like that could just be the new Midnight Express, right? Like how it is so close. It's so close. If it's not just to make us mark out like this, it's like it seems like the path that AEW seems to have been like taking things on.
And I'll give it for granted, right? It could just be they knew the kind of reaction being on Cornette's podcast last week would bring, and they knew that going forth from that, renaming their move the Good Night Express would cause exactly this kind of discussion.
Oh, absolutely.
Smart enough to do that, and AEW and like Cody, the Bucks, and Kenny specifically are smart enough to play along with that and let it go.
Yeah.
Are they all at the same whatever to actually go full bore with it? Is this all a work from Cornette? The ultimate wrestling worker of all. I mean, this would be one of the greatest works of all time in wrestling. It would be akin to finding out from Bret Hart, Montreal Screwjob was all a work. I was sent to WCW by Vince, right? Yeah. If he shows up on their TV after the things he said over the last, but when you look back again over the last, like the documented stuff over the last several months specifically, it's work talk. There's no real fighting words in there.
Well, and it's the fact that like JR would respond. Like, why would JR even respond to Cornette? He knows Cornette's just trying to like rile people up and that kind of stuff, right? So like to take it so personally almost seems like, okay, again, we're just maybe we could be planting seeds here, right? Like it's always maybe a little bit more to the.
If they don't go down that road at this point, if Jimmy does not show up, tennis racket in hand, to be the new manager of FTR for the series of matches against the Bucks at the very least, I don't get why he devoted that much time. Why is he selling their matches for them? It doesn't make any sense. He hates them, right? They're high school buddies promoting themselves in their own backyard, but I'll help them make $1 million. Is he like FTR that much that he thinks I'll help these guys and I don't care that it doesn't. I don't know. I don't know, but
that is the interesting wild world of wrestling that we get to dissect here on LowBlowRadio that I love. It's I don't know, which is so fantastic. I'm excited to see what happens. This was a great first showing for them. They had a lot of great moves off, a lot of just straight tag team stuff. They really got over their grinding in-ring performances and stuff like that. And Butcher and the Blade didn't look weak in the slightest. They were like strong, dominant force as well.
I thought for 1 second when they did that near fall and getting near the end of them before the FTR hit them with the finishers.
Right.
They had the near fall in the corner with the I think it was Butcher on top.
Yeah.
And I thought for a second, like, oh, they're going a whole different way with this. They're gonna have him lose it. I'm glad
right away.
But I thought for a split second, like, oh,
maybe a little too conditioned for the Revival taking the pin. So
yeah,
not quite used to FTR winning yet. But no, they looked great. I'm ready to see them like turn it up against some other tag teams, and like, I mean, it's blowing up over there tag team wise. It's fantastic.
And having the face off in the ring at the end didn't hurt that at all for that image, right? Having the imagery of the Bucks, Omega and Page, and FTR all in there at the same time. I thought that was strong.
Yeah, for sure. No, yeah, that's got a lot of guys over and stuff like that. Yeah, the bunch of like getting back in there, bringing the Super Bad and Havoc out and that kind of stuff. Yeah, no, it's really letting you know who's in the mix right now and who's sort of where people are going to go and that kind of thing. Yeah, a lot of great sort of
I forgot
start of feuds
as well, but yeah, it's great. Again, it's the arcing storylines where they get, here's the one main thing we know that they're doing. Yeah. But here's the side thing as well that they're going to keep them busy and interested at the same time.
I'm going to say, I didn't write it down, but I think it ended up being too that's set up that they're going to take on the Young Bucks next week, right?
That's next week.
So, I mean, simple little setup, and it was just sort of getting involved in a big tag opportunity. And no, it was, and they had a lot of that tonight, a lot of good payoff setup to sort of, they sort of build to Fyter Fest as well as just sort of build throughout the night and the little matches and stuff. So, yeah, fantastic kickoff match. Next thing we got was Penelope Ford and Nyla Rose taking on Chris Statlander and Hikaru Shida, the women's champion. What did you make of this matchup?
Honestly, again, it captivated me as much as I usually am with the AEW women's division. I'm just not being absorbed by the storylines, and it's not their fault. Britt Baker got hurt, but it was the promo afterwards. The bit with the rehab with her was, to me, I was sitting grinning. I like that. That was
if it feels like so much better than the match, it's hard to like take the match.
Yeah,
and no, I get it.
It didn't get me, so
it did feel like one of those sort of like opening New Japan type matches where it's just like a bunch of the people they throw in for a quick tag to get eyes on everybody, let everyone kind of showcase a little bit of themselves. I'm glad Penelope went over. They getting their heel tactics over. I mean, I'll say it again too. Like, as much as we were talking about Sabian and Havoc, I still think Sabian's better on his own with just Penelope. They're a perfect pair.
Yeah.
Coming out for each other's matches, it's the perfect matchup. Mesh up working together as well. And yeah, her and Nyla were okay as a tag, but again, this wasn't like igniting some sort of big tag stuff. It wasn't getting new feuds going. It was just kind of letting the girls showcase themselves, which was fine. Andrew looked strong, and
we just talked about on the radio show this week. We talked about NXT in your house show, which opened with exactly that, a showcase of 6 women for the women's division. Something about that worked, and it was a showcase. For this, for some reason, I think what it showcased more to me was the look at our lack of, here's our 4 girls, and that's pretty much, past that, we don't have much of a women's division right now. Britt's injured, and even Penelope Ford, we've really conditioned you to see as a manager or valet, not a wrestler at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm trying to think of like one other like heel girl they could have got it, because they could have brought like Big Swole and then like one other person that made it a big 6-woman tag and made it more of a showcase rather than just trying to focus on the 4 girls to maybe again show just how broad the division can be, because when they don't get to have as many matches, you forget how many girls are really available and that kind of stuff too. So
again, a lot of their women's division was built in the beginning off of getting the girls over from Japan on part-time basis, right? So understandable that's not happening right now, but then maybe now isn't the time to have these showcase style matches when what you're showcasing isn't probably what you'd aim to showcase. So not to crap on the girls, it wasn't a horrible match or anything. I wasn't excited. It didn't get me vested in anything because there's no story here, right? Really.
True. Yeah, I think they just need a big spark, something like someone that just sort of ignites something again in there that drums up some more interest. Again, I think that's always either a new signing or someone sort of doing something exciting. And I really enjoy Brie Priestley. I think she's a great competitor that they have signed that hasn't been utilized quite as well as she can be. She is an amazing heel, and if that's going to be what again, it's probably a travel issue why she's not able to get over until they can get that sort of thing figured out. But yeah, I think she'll be someone hopefully they can utilize in the time being at some point before Britt's back. But yeah, they need to find some other more big heels that aren't just Nyla Rose or whatever getting in there with to get up there with Sheeta. So yeah, it should be an interesting title run for her. And yeah, this wasn't like it. I mean, Penelope came out the big winner, so maybe she's the one that'll go on to Fyter Fest to take her on. But it wasn't a super exciting way to start that feud or anything.
No, I'm not sucked in yet. I'll give it time. Maybe there's something in the next few weeks. We will see. But
well, little 15-year-old me marked out quite hard seeing Tony Hawk with our lovely Darby Allin here in the his little vignette. That was fantastic. I love how pissed off he is, and he's just sort of like, I'm not clear to wrestle. I don't give a shit. Whatever. Just you don't got to be clear for this, man. It's cool.
That was
jumping off a ladder trying to do his trick and finally hits it. No, this was fantastic. And I mean, they didn't even have to say his name. Like Darby didn't have to say it. You just see his face like, holy shit, it's fucking Tony Hawk.
What are you doing here?
And even when they cut back, JR's trying to be like, oh man, I tried one time to do it. And then Jericho's like, that was Tony Hawk. Would you shut up?
Did you see Darby Allin's video he posted on Twitter this week, the jumping off of the balcony into the swimming pool?
Yes, I did. That guy is a maniac.
What is wrong with him? Seriously. That's insanity. That's somebody recording their friend plummet into his death one day. One day we're going to tell him we won't be grinning. That's all I will say.
Yeah, I don't want to see the video when it's that.
He's nuts.
Yeah, that was a quick little vignette we have. And then, yeah, like you said, we got that nice little Britt Baker one, too. I think it's always great to just keep her on TV as much as we can.
They have to.
I think the role model, too, is even better now, too, because she was saying it. Now she's the role model, ROLL. Oh, my God, it's just perfect.
Yeah,
and a nice little dig at what they were comparing her with Bayley and stuff, too. Oh, it's just great to keep this kind of thing rolling. And, yeah, this was a nice sort of lead into our sort of mid kickoff or not kickoff, but yeah, midway matchup that got a lot of stuff over the inner circle with Jake Hager, Santana, and Ortiz against best friends, Trent and Chuck Taylor with Orange Cassidy. This was quite the big brawl. What'd you make of this?
I love Jericho on commentary. My favorite line.
Part of this. My
favorite line was Hager looks like he's beating up a 16-year-old version of himself.
I literally have that written down. That exact line I have written out and highlighted because I was like, I have to make sure this gets mentioned.
That
was amazing. That's by far, yeah. His commentary in this was great.
I have never seen oranges getting squeezed, being made to look so violent and horrible.
Yeah, I can say we can get to the end when we get there, but the match itself, was a lot of just sort of theater circle looking tight and strong still, regardless of the loss. They were really getting over how much they're like a unit together, as much as the best friends are too. And then I think even in the finish too, with the fact that Cassidy got the like roll up and stuff, it keeps best friends still strong. And then now igniting them in a new feud, like as much as they are now, they confirmed from the last pay-per-view that they're going to be number one contenders. Now we're a little more conditioned that once you're number one contenders, you're fighting guys right away. And they're like, well, no, we'll fight at the next big event. So we can have a little feud between then and now. So this is their sort of offshoot thing to deal with the inner circle. So I think that's a fun sort of way for the best friends to have something else to do right now.
Well, now next week, they're putting the title shot on the line against Les Sex Gods.
Yeah. So I think it could be a very, very big match. And I think I'm going to say I wrote down a big prediction. I mean, other than how badly they beat down Cassidy, I still think he's going to do some sort of like distraction for Jericho and cost them the match. It's hard to say, but I'd rather see
so many directions they could go in the tag division. It doesn't matter who becomes the number one contender or is. It gives anybody a match.
True. I think Jericho's on this path, though, of putting over guys in these singles matches that he wants Cassidy at Fyter Fest. I think that's what it's building to. Absolutely.
That's logical. And he looks and feels and seems like exactly the kind of guy Chris is going to want to work with.
Oh, for sure. Like how much he hated him so much in the start of the commentary, and then he was starting to put him over once he started waking up and stuff like that. Oh, there's really something to this guy, and like, he was just so fantastic. And then how angry he got as soon as he got the roll up on his guys, and he was just like, what? Had to tear down there, and it was fantastic. And then, like I say, that one line was fantastic, and then the next one, the Blood Orange Cassidy just got juiced. Oh boy. It was that perfect turn too that Jericho's very, very good at, of like, the comedy's been going so well throughout this match, and like, and then just you see the oranges and you think something funny, and then but you start seeing the blood on Orange, and it's like, well, we're taking a bit more of a serious turn here all of a sudden. And that was perfectly sort of booked to ignite a feud here, absolutely, from just like a small little walk-on stuff, which is all you can kind of get with Orange Cassidy. It was I'm super excited to see what they end up doing here.
But I really enjoyed the exactly what you said, though, the way that they transitioned it in the middle of it happening from a comedy spot into a really serious spot. Yeah, and they did it really well. Like, I thought, anyway, in my opinion, it was left with feeling like, yeah, I like that. I thought that left Inner Circle looking back to their dangerous roots, as opposed to being the comedy thing. Yeah, more so even than Tyson face-off did and the squaring off with the MMA guys did at the end of what was a comical segment there. Yeah, so for sure. I'm really enjoying the way that they're booking those guys, and just the stuff with them has been great.
Yeah, no, totally. I think there's a lot of great camaraderie there, and they're definitely showcasing it for like only a year now together. It seems like a group that we've seen for way longer than that. So it's fantastic. I think
MJF with his buddy Tony Schiavone.
I was gonna say, cutting right back, this was fantastic. Right, straight from commercial break, you get what you think's gonna be a Billy Gunn interview with Tony Schiavone. That's instantly interrupted by our lovely MJF.
That was awesome. I thought it was great.
Oh, it's perfect.
His line to Billy about his getting more of your stupid ass kids working in their job here. Fantastic. I thought they were going to be fighting tonight at the end of that. I thought that was going to be a match announced for, coming up now or whatever.
I think it's next week or coming up soon. They said, though, it's going to be Wardlow and MJF versus the Gun Club or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, again, perfect way to ignite a small little feud. Again, he comes on, exclaims his place at not getting title shots, showing that he's being underlooked and that he's also this sort of ceiling for guys that are getting title shots. So, still keeping him in the limelight in the big title picture. And then right there with a guy that everyone already recognizes for one thing. And then someone who's been not only on like recent TV, but like throughout even the early pre-tape stuff, he was always like in the sort of background watching these matches. Like Billy's been very much looked at and responded to. That he had the little interferences and stuff with Britt Baker. And like, there's been a lot of sort of talk with Billy on the side. So I think as much as they can utilize them, it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, I don't mind Billy Gunn being used in this kind of aspect at all.
Yeah, quick little match. Like, I mean, you don't see them getting over on MJF and Wardlow at all, but if it's sort of like, another sort of step for and keeping Wardlow and MJF on TV, I'm totally happy with that.
Yeah, he was funny, as usual. Jungle Jabroni, Jack Perry. What I guess I would think, the only thing I did think of it in not a negative, but in a negative aspect at all, was by the end of the night when they're explaining Mark Quinn getting the title shot, and you're thinking, but MJF was out complaining earlier that that's overlooked and number one contender. Well, so did he just not challenge? Did he just not say, I want that shot, Cody, or a booking committee guy or whoever?
Yeah, is he not going to Tony Khan? Did he not say it
fast enough? Or like, does him saying that tonight, does that qualify as a challenge? Well, surely then it should be him against Cody next week. So I'm a little confused. Again, I know they want to push the idea of more competition in sports than entertainment sports. Yeah. But I think it's always going to be looked at, then you give me consistency no matter which, right? I mean, that's always been a problem with WWE booking.
For sure. Care. And I think if you're going to do both,
always turns their back to a chair shot. That's fine. Just always do it then, right?
Yeah. Or if you're going to do both, you have MJF just call bullshit on it every time, right? Like, There's nothing wrong with that. Like, if you're going to do it, have him call bullshit on it each time, and then that's just, what keeps that going. And then if it comes up that, like, well, he knows on the booking committee, it is Cody, and I do have a grudge against you, man. I don't think you deserve this title shot. So that could always ignite something further down. And again, something little like this just keeps MJF on TV. There's no reason for him to lose, and there's no reason for Billy to win. It just keeps him showcased and utilized very well.
Speaking of showcased and utilized well, nice segue to Boom Boom Colt Cabana.
Boom Boom.
To be honest, I think this is a great match.
Yeah, great for both these guys. Again, it had that setup of like going into it, everyone. It had the Dark Order implications as well as JR and them really getting over. The both men had to win this match. They're both coming in on a lot of losses, like 3 apiece. It was just sort of, someone needing to gain some momentum to get started again here in AEW. And Colt. It was that sort of classic Colt match, which was good too. A little bit of the comedy, but he was just sort of a little bit stronger too than Sammy. Sammy just being a little too cocky, not quite being able to grasp over top of Colt until he was able to capitalize on a specific moment. So it was very well utilized for both guys, at a good place for Sammy to go over because he didn't really have to lose here and keeps the inner circle looking tough, and furthers Colt's decline into what could be a very dark place.
For sure. No, totally agree. I thought I really enjoyed the match and the story perfectly told with the result, right? I mean, it doesn't. Yeah. Colt needs to lose until he's driven into the place where he feels he needs the assistance of Mr. Lee and the Dark Order.
And like we said, we want to see
10 minutes later.
Yeah, we want to see this be a little bit different from the other stuff we've seen from the Dark Order too, and it seems like it's leaning more down that road too. So if this ends up being a nice little heel turn for Colt, keeps him on TV and something interesting, totally happy with that. So cool to see Evil Uno and Grayson back. That's fantastic too. I like seeing the old talent coming back and that kind of stuff. And
I like JR's line actually at the start of this one, that as long as Sammy avoided being run over by a golf cart or a horse, he was already the winner. And I thought that was pretty funny.
Right. And then, the segment ended with Matt Hardy coming out, and we're getting sort of like this 3 faces of Hardy, I guess, is what we're sort of seeing. The one is this sort of veteran, almost regular version of himself, Matt Hardy. You've got like V1 Matt Hardy. You've got
broken
Matt Hardy, the Damakis.
Yeah.
And then, I guess you also have the Spot Monkey one whenever he wants to bring that out. But, it was interesting to see him sort of jumping through the gimmicks here, and obviously going to be the next sort of thing for Sammy and Hardy to do. I'm totally fine with that. So,
yeah, I think I'm at the thing with Sammy that I don't know that there's a bad match they can put him in, and I don't know that there's anybody that he couldn't pull off the good heel routine against. I think he's just at that spot right now where he's hot and he's good.
Yeah.
And he's putting out good matches. Is he a Shawn Michaels? Is he like remind you at all of a young Shawn Michaels in that respect? The cocky, arrogant attitude, maybe without the backstage politics, side baggage. But he's young. He's good.
He doesn't get over as much. I would say, I'm trying to think of someone that I would compare him to a little bit more. But I mean, it is more, it's all that cockiness, but then he just loses, right? He wins sometimes, but he doesn't win as like dominantly as Shawn would win back in the day.
Not by the time Shawn was winning. Yeah, no, you're right. Rocker Shawn.
Well, but I mean, that's Rocker Shawn.
I thought it was great. I loved it. I left a little confused by it. I'm not disappointed by having the matchup. like I said, I like Sammy. They could put him with Matt Hardy. It'll be great. They could put Sammy with practically anybody, and I think I'll want to watch the match because he can sell it to me.
Yeah.
I'm a little confused with the many faces of Hardy gimmick. I didn't dislike the spot at the Stadium Stampede match. I thought that was funny. And I like the idea of him being almost like the Foley-esque, where there's the many faces of Matt. I think what confused me a bit tonight was seeing the succession without him having to be dunked into a pool of reincarnation this time. He's just flipping the switch between the 3. And that made me a little confused. But again, it's Matt Hardy. I give him carte blanche to go and do whatever he feels he can do with the gimmick. And again, what might confuse me this week, I'm going to think is hysterical in 3 weeks. And
Yeah, I think there's still sort of like smoke here for people to be interested in like this new sort of take of the broken Matt Hardiness. And if this is sort of like, it seemed like before things sort of changed when they got back to Jacksonville that they were planning to do a Hardy compound match, and it was going to be Sammy. So if this is a sort of way to reignite that, to sort of have a cinematic match at Fyter Fest, I'm fine with that too, because they seem like a nice way to break up the not monotony, but the like sort of difference of what events have been lately. So,
well, that's really going to depend, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll wait and see. So,
is Reeby going to let him have friends over to play or not?
We shall see. Maybe it'll just be a drone fight.
I don't know. After what we've been seeing the Decathlon and the Street Profits and the Viking Raiders do, don't count anything out. We could see a drone war.
Oh, geez. I sure kind of hope
we're
not
sold like in Star Wars, like Clone Wars logo and stuff.
Right. Yeah. Oh God.
Could almost see that. Joey Janela's promo, I thought that was good. I like that.
Yeah. He's in an interesting place right now, trying to figure out what he's doing with, like you said in the promo, right? He sort of came in, had some pretty main event matches, like against Moxley and stuff like that, and then now a bit lost in the shuffle, like a lot of people have said, kind of thing. And if you follow him on Dark, he has had some pretty good, interesting matches with Sonny Kiss. So yeah, see Sonny picking him up. It's a good move for him. It gets like Sonny over, of course, and then it's a good move for him. If there's nothing really going on for you in the single stuff, like if you're not going to get into the TNT picture right now, and if you're not going to be in the main event picture, the title picture or the tag team division is just exciting in amongst itself, that you don't necessarily even need to be fighting for the titles to just be like having fun competing there.
Well, there have to be other matches other than the title matches, so
yeah,
they need teams. Excuse me. I thought the only danger I see is you've got him and Sean Spears almost in these very parallel places right now, and like those are the ones that are on camera in storyline accepting that they're kind of lost in the mid-card shuffle. Right. And that's not even including folks that others would arguably place there. So,
true,
I don't know. I like the promo. I thought it was great, but that's the only little thing I had was like, it's almost a little bit too close to the same thing that you're doing with Sean.
No, that's fair. I can
because now they both have to hit this plateau that they're giving themselves, right? The audience might have noticed, but we didn't have to know unless you told us in a story that was happening. So
no, absolutely. I can see where you're coming from there.
Then it was back to Boom Boom.
It was back to Boom Boom, yeah, and he was storming down the hallway, heading on into the Mr. Brody Lee's office. Even if this ignites just a feud between those two, I think I'm just excited to see Colt on the AEW program getting an interesting look, keeping the Dark Order happening too. They obviously could have just started dropping it after the loss to Moxley, but it didn't have to happen that way. So this should be very interesting. See what happens. If it's a heel turn from Colt, I'm not going to complain.
I think it's solving the two things, right? Like it's giving Colt this more prominent role on TV, definitely the last couple of weeks. Plus, it solved the problem of how the Dark Order going to look coming back off of the Moxley loss that Brody took. Yeah. They've kept them out of the ring to a degree. They've kept them out of highlight matches, but kept them involved in this somewhat premier storyline.
Yep.
And it kept it looking important, kept Brody looking strong like a leader, despite the fact that he didn't win the world title. He still got his crew, and they're still convincing new guys to come and join him. And guys like Colt Cabana, who for sure hasn't won a match in now 4 weeks or whatever, but is still a known commodity, is still Colt Cabana.
Yeah.
So it's still a big name for the Dark Order to pick up, and it allows them to pick right back up with him and Brody in tag matches when he joins and win a few matches in a row. And so you've begun the rehabilitation of them a couple weeks ago, but now it's in ring as well, right?
For sure.
So I think there's the story. I think he'll join it, or has joined the Dark Order now. I think he'll be a full-fledged, like full-up member with them for a significant amount of time before you see a cross-off and Daniel Bryan turn on Bray Wyatt style thing where he goes up against Brody. I think that's down the road.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think there's plenty of like, yeah, if he sort of like joins them and he sort of builds them towards a TNT title match or a Moxley match or something like that, and then he loses and then turns on Brody or whatever. Yeah, there's plenty of story to be told there. So yeah, happy to
Or
see these
even
guys working together.
takes the TNT title from Cody in a couple months as a member of the Dark Order, brings them their first gold.
You never know. Yeah, I'm curious to see how that title ends up feeling. Like if they've done a pretty good job of like prestigizing the world title, keeping it long lineages so far. Again, it's an early championship, but Jericho held it for quite a while. Moxley's gone through some pretty dominant title defenses so far, and it doesn't seem like he's losing it anytime soon. Not to put Cage down, we can get to that next. That was a great sort of way to put Cage over. He put him through a car and stuff like that. I think maybe people are just sort of put off by the fact that it's like just at Fyter Fest or whatever, and they're trying to make Fyter Fest seem as important as some of their other one-off kind of event things. And I think it has the feel like the matches feel sort of important, but I don't know if it's just me. The name just sort of doesn't do it for me. So
it leaves it feeling
less.
More, yeah. I don't know. I mean, again, it's because it's named anything other than Dynamite or, Dynamite : Fyter Fest.
Well, and then it's like, I got to try to take my personal feelings out of some of that too, because I marked out when they did Bash the Beach. I mean, they're going to do that all the time. Hell yeah. Like if they're going to try and buy up more of those, I'm a WCW mark to the end of the day I die. So I'll be happy the more and more they bring stuff like that out. So again, that's going to be a personal bias on that end. But no, I think Cage is fantastic. I think the two of them will put on a great match and I think he can talk for himself, but this is a great way to utilize Taz in a different sense. If he's not going to be on their main commentary booth, why not have more guys with more managers?
Yep, and for sure, keep Taz away from a commentary microphone. And I honestly believe this is a perfect spot for him. Taz is a heel. Taz was best heel in ECW outside of
he learned from the best, right? Like,
but he was fantastic.
Yeah,
like he was just such a great character, such a booked as such a monster until the day he showed up in WWF and they ruined him with Kurt Angle and ruined him in a Royal Rumble and just highlighted the fact that, look, when we put him in the ring with 6'4" guys, he looks like an egg. And that was Taz, finished.
Yeah.
And yeah, okay, he bounced back on commentary a bit with Michael Cole, and he wasn't always horrible, but he wasn't great. And I did not enjoy his stuff in TNA.
I say I wasn't in Aces and Eights. I wasn't into TNA at that time or anything else, but I can say I obviously heard a little bit of it and that kind of thing. So, no, I think this is a great. If you're going to have Taz around, I'm not I'm not
in this role
worried about it. So
perfect, and for Brian Cage as well. Like it was like a match made in heaven for Jake Roberts to go with Lance Archer if they're going to for that role together with them. This was a perfect fit.
Oh, for sure. Again, it's going to be like. If you recognize that face, what this guy's doing in the ring is just like to the tense of what the other guy used to do. So
rabid violence.
Yeah,
rabid violence. And
perfect mashup there. So yeah, great way to lead into our. I'm gonna say that he had the beatdown of Moxley. Building towards what's going to be their Fyter Fest and should be fantastic. I think that's going to be great matchup. And speaking of good matchups.
It's this build of Brian Cage again. Like I read an excellent article today, Michael Sidgwick and What Culture had posted on their site. Find it off of various places. It's the idea that the gravitas of the loss has been lost on wrestling fans because we've been conditioned by WWF to see the loss as you can't get back from this. That's a burial. So fans don't understand the difference between losing and burials anymore. Like we had this debate with Archer after he lost to Moxley.
Yeah.
After he lost to Cody, right? They build and build and build and get him stronger and stronger because for the champion to look good, he's got to beat someone with some credibility.
Yeah.
So Brody Lee got built up for Moxley to beat so that makes Mox look better. It doesn't destroy Brody to lose the one match. He was still built up before that one. Same with Lance with Cody. He was built up as the monster. He loses the one time to Cody because that was Cody's one shot after his brother was destroyed. His wife was humiliated. He couldn't lose. He had
No.
to win. So, and the same with Brian Cage. He's being built like tonight's beating. He's a monster that could conceive. Look, he does damage to Moxley. Moxley will win this title match, but it won't hurt Brian Cage. It's a bigger feather in Mox's hat than if he'd beat him up 4 weeks in a row leading into the title match.
True, and if it's just that little things of like the little seeds of like, yes, he listens to what Taz says, but then when he gets a little too angry, he can't quite listen to what Taz says, and he does what he wants to do. And again, if that's just the little bit that you need to know now leading into the title match, that if that's what is his own undoing, is costing himself the match in that sense, then yeah, I totally see it, and doesn't hurt him in the slightest to lose in that way.
Nope. Agree. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the match, but I thought I liked the bit. I thought it was a good bit to build up. Yeah. And we'll see Moxley get some measure of revenge next week, I'm sure, right before Fyter Fest, right? The Fyter Fest doesn't start next week, does it?
No, I think it's not till July 1st.
July? Oh,
yeah. So.
All right. Well, it's coming up.
Couple weeks. We're good to go. Yeah, leading into the main event, Cody taking on Mark Quinn. Mark Quinn. This was an interesting matchup.
Was it? Tell me more, because we're in a thunderstorm watch in our area tonight, and my feed for the show cut out literally 2 minutes into the match. So I got to see the intros. I got to see the start off, the feeling each other out for a minute, and then it died. It didn't come back.
Right.
I didn't even know if this was going to work. So
well, fair enough.
Tornado yet.
Knock on wood, we're doing just fine so far. So yeah, I'm gonna say the first thing I wanted to mention was Matt Hardy coming out with Private Party was very interesting, and he was sort of he reminded me of Doc Hendricks with the Hardy Boys when they first started, and I was like, is that his new role?
The new Doc Hendricks.
Yeah.
Better hope not.
Yeah, but I'm gonna say it just had that weird sort of feeling to me, or recalled that memory. So maybe that's just me, but no, I think this match, it was a lot of the Flash versus Finesse was the story of this match. Cody just trying to overcome the weird sort of flashiness of Mark Quinn, and that helped get Quinn over because any time Cody has to struggle, it's going to get, people kind of ramped up to see what Cody ends up doing to have to deal with somebody. And yeah, he's capitalized on the ankle slip up, and then kept sort of laying the damage in on the ankle. Quinn tried to capitalize when he could, when they had a brawl on the outside. He went up, did a big a 450 to the outside splash onto Cody. Comes back in and tries to hit another one, misses, and gets caught in a modified ankle lock, and taps for Cody to get the big win, obviously. But still helped Quinn get over.
Cody retained, really?
No way. Yeah, no, big shock and surprise here. But yeah, nice hug, and it wasn't just sort of that quick win and go out either. They sort of had their sort of moment, and then it was just sort of Cody left in the ring, and then we got Jack Swagger coming down the ramp, and then Swagger got in the ring, and before he could attack Cody, he put his hands on Arn Anderson. So getting Cody even more riled up. No one puts their hands on Arn Anderson, exactly. So
nobody backs Arnie into a corner.
Yeah, it goes after Cody, and then Private Party and Matt Hardy come out with chairs, and I'm trying to remember who else came out. It was basically everybody from the other brawls and stuff like that earlier on. So
no Tyson though.
No Tyson. All AEW people at this point. Yeah, they were just kind of brawling around outside, and then Cody got on the mic right before they cut away and was just like, Jake, if you're looking for a match at Fyter Fest, you got it. So yeah, nice, interesting way to set that up, and if that's sort of going to be the next thing for Cody, and yeah, if he can do these sort of one-off title challenges still before then, hard to say, but
I don't hate that match either. That's another good win for Cody, and it's another loss Hager can eat. Hager can eat practically any loss now, right? He doesn't care. He'll still be Jake Hager. He's still MMA, two-sport, former WWF champion, tough guy.
It seems like they just find a way around it, right? He didn't seem hurt by the Moxley loss, so I can't see why this one would be any different. So
nah, it's Cody Rhodes. It's not, you're not losing the. It's not me walking down there and beating you.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Now you got buried. My question was going to be, do you think this was a better showcase, spotlight, bigger match opportunity for Mark Quinn than Private Party versus Young Bucks was? Different, obviously setting singles versus tag, but in the bigger picture of it, that meant a hell of a lot for that tag team at the time. They were never, had you heard of Private Party? You know what I mean? Very few people had.
I still think that moment's bigger. This was a good.
Yeah.
This was a good moment for Quinn. A nice showcase for him in a singles matchup, especially the first one on AEW. I think when you look at Private Party, it's hard to say who the singles person would be. So you would almost want to see how. I'm gonna say his name slipped me at the moment, but to see how the other guy does in the same sort of setup before you kind of decide that. But no, I think they got more of a rub for sure from they can ride that Young Buck win for a good couple more years still. It was such a big moment for them early on.
I tend to agree. that in all overall that the tag match was probably a bigger match for Quinn, despite the fact it was a tag match versus singles.
For sure, yeah.
I thought it was interesting.
It's a title match, big opportunity, but
you're getting your singles debut and it's a title match. That was kind of why I did wonder if there was going to be some shenanigans to let him. He would take it and win the belt, so there'd be that story to tell forever that he won it in his debut singles debut.
That's always a fun sort of story to tell too, for sure. Yeah, if that was sort of the way
forever. No matter where you go, what you do with the character after that, that's always going to be the moment to be able to go back on, right? So anyway,
but I think he falls into that spot of just a tag guy, like not quite being able to do it without the other partner, and that was fine in this sort of situation. If he wasn't just quite able to capitalize on enough flashiness without his partner there, then that's just what sort of the story of this match was, and that was fine.
And at the age they are, that's
it doesn't hurt them at all.
Story to tell, that's fine. So, yeah, I was disappointed when it went out because it looked like it was good. It was a unique matchup.
Yeah,
and I expected it to be a fairly typical standard fare, but I thought it would. Yeah, it was going to be.
I'm excited for this Hager thing, but it was almost a letdown knowing now that we're not just going to get. I mean, he could still do the open challenge stuff and be like, well, maybe it won't be me defending it against Hager at Fyter Fest. He's just getting the title shot then, so they could still keep doing these open challenges, but it did sort of take the wind out of the sails of the anticipation of who was going to get a big title match with Cody every week, and the idea of it seemed like how much they've been putting over. It could be anybody. They don't even have to be signed to AEW. You really thought that he was going to just show up and then it was going to be a big surprise person then, right? But
yeah,
if they save that for another time, whatever, that's good too. So if they're not ready for that, then we'll see what happens next time on AEW Dynamite. This was a great show. It
would be tough for them to be able to pull that kind of thing off every week.
Yeah,
it's especially if they want to go the serious route, right? Because I mean, I'm sure if Drew Carey wasn't doing anything, maybe he wants to come and have a shot at it.
Well, I mean,
celebrity route.
I think it's a great time to start doing one-offs that are don't have to be big feuds and don't have to be people that you can sign people for a one-time appearance. They don't have to be signed to contracts and that kind of stuff.
Sure. Yep. No, I agree.
So, and I think that doesn't hurt them in the sense that they're doing good to do better with the guys they have signed to contract deals. But I'm going to say no one was offended by the Jeff Cobb match, and to see more stuff like that wouldn't hurt at all.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Agreed.
Let's see what happens next time on AEW Dynamite. Well, Chris, would you like to do some Backlash predictions while we're still here, or should we
name the match? Tonight? I'll tell you who's going to win.
Oh boy! Well, I will start with the women's tag team titles.
Iconics.
The Iconics. You think they're going to take it? It was what? So it's Iconics versus Becky and Sasha. And is it just the crisscross applesauce?
Crisscross applesauce.
As much as I don't like hot dog and titles, I would rather see it go on them. And if that's going to start the sort of Sasha Bailey thing, I think that's why they put the titles on them. So it's all about whenever that ball is going to start rolling to get the two of them against each other. So
the only thing
we'll see what happens.
The only thing that prevents the Iconics winning the women's tag team title match at Backlash is Charlotte Flair and anybody else in that match as her partner.
And the Omni Flair. He's everywhere.
The Omni Flair. That's excellent.
That is all Wrestle Talk. I will definitely not take credit for any of that.
I haven't heard that yet.
That's definitely Ollie on Wrestle Talk.
Oh, sorry, Ollie. That's all. No, we'll
But I love the Omni Flare. It's fantastic.
Why did Ollie steal your line? That's a good one you came with.
What the hell? Come on, Ollie. Jeez. Starting to feud already. First day on YouTube. So I gotta think maybe they retain now and maybe next time, but hard to say. What do you make of Jeff Hardy and Sheamus?
That's what I make of Jeff.
That's what most people
That's
make of this
uncomfortable
match.
to watch. Jeff Hardy's got to win, right?
Yeah.
Where's my payoff for the babyface if he loses the match to Sheamus now?
It's hard to say. I mean, Sheamus could still take. He's been built pretty. I think.
No, you're right. They've been pushing Sheamus since he got back. He's the one that's more Although they've been
it's like
who's he got back. They put themselves into a corner again, didn't they?
They did, because it's like, and it's all about. Obviously, we'll get to the title when we get there, but it's all about like who's going to challenge Braun next. And if Sheamus wins this, it's a pretty viable reason to put him in the title picture next, and I'm fine with that. I think he hasn't been in the title picture in a long time. People will be okay to see him in there against Braun. I've never seen that from what I can think of, so I'd rather see that if that's the route, because I think it saved Jeff for when it's the Fiend. I think
you're right. That's
makes a better matchup.
It makes a lot of logical sense. So Jeff Hardy's going to win this weekend.
Well, fair enough. I'm still going to take Sheamus. Who do you have winning?
Are you writing these down? I guess we're recording it. Never mind.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll get it up there. Whatever. It's fine. Who do you have winning with Apollo Crews taking on Andrade?
Apollo Crews.
Yeah, they just put the title on him. It seems odd to take it off right away, so I got to lean the same way here.
Plus, as long as Zelina Vega is still managing Andrade, I don't think he's allowed to win. She can't manage a guy with a win in his record.
Well, and the fact that like he got the match off of Angel Garza on Raw will probably play in some degree. It's WWE. Eventually, their whole crew has to break up. So
I thought on Raw for a brief moment that one way they could go with this is that it's Zelina Vega dumps all the losers and that she ends up with Apollo Crews. Because he needs a mouthpiece. He's not a great talker, right?
That's not a
wrong?
Way to do. And the other guys seem to be getting over on their own. And I think especially if the two of them end up as like an odd couple tag team, I'd be okay with that. Like Angel Garza, and like they're sort of left on their own, but they're like, oh, we got to go figure something out.
Reason to come together because the enemy of my enemy is my friend stuff, right? So if she dumps both of them to team with the guy that they've been feuding with because he's proven to just that she manages losers, that helps them spur them on and up to come back later.
Yeah.
Plus, it gives Apollo a mouthpiece because I thought that on Monday a couple of times. Like again, it's a different world right now. The poor guy's dealing with an empty arena and a terrible script. At least usually it's just a terrible script. At least you're playing off people. Now he's playing off these terrible poor buggers sitting pretending to be a crowd. Honestly, the crowd on Raw, was it chanting, "You still got it"?
Jeez,
was awful. Cringe.
There's nothing more cringy than that. They clearly just, it feels like they all have just like a piece of paper of like, these are the things you can say, these are the things you can't. Just
yeah.
No,
that was bad. So yeah, if he's, I felt that way that he kind of it wouldn't hurt him to have somebody mouthpiecing for him. Yeah. And yeah, to have her be the one that switches and flips on her team and he becomes a heel and they kind of become reluctant faces out of the deal.
Yeah.
It gives them a different, interesting way to go with their character. Definitely gives Apollo a new lease on life. So yeah, I'm calling for that to happen. That's my pick.
I'm going to have to go with you on that one. I think Apollo's taking this one. Now let's see what your predictions are for Asuka taking on Nia Jax for the Women's Raw Championship.
I believe Nia will botch something during the match. Asuka will need +7 stitches. I'm going to go with the +7 on this, Eric.
Ooh, wow. 7 whole stitches. That's a hefty bet.
Oh, that's horrible.
But who's taking the title? That's what
Asuka's going to win. Asuka has to win this match, provided, it's allowed to finish properly. It should be a good match. Asuka, yeah. I honestly think can carry anyone to a match. And I do think Nia's problem is the occasional, especially when they're putting her deliberately up against much smaller girls all the time to try to highlight the size difference and highlight her strength and stuff. Accidents are going to happen more frequently. Like,
it was the Alexa Bliss thing, right? Yeah.
She's a bit too fast. They had to do with
her before.
She moves too quickly. Someone's not quite ready. The balance isn't quite there. And I don't want to sound making excuses for Nia Jax, because I have been at forefront of gasping and calling for why is she not back at the Performance Center week after week on Twitter. So, yeah, but here we are again, where she's in another title match, and so again, right, where from a fan perspective, it looks this bad, and you think it's this way. I've got to believe if it was really the case that she was injuring girls left, right, and center, and those girls were complaining, and it was always her fault, she wouldn't be getting title matches.
No.
Big storylines, priority pushes as soon as she gets back from injury. They would be sending her back down to developmental, or at least to NXT. Like, so.
Yeah. Finding some other way to utilize her. They've got other women on the roster, and especially when you've just crowned a new champion, it's always a fresh time for new matchups and stuff like that. So yeah, the fact that they're going with this is that they obviously have some idea of what they want to do with the character. Again, I'm going with you. I don't think she's taking the title, but they may end up with a botch here or there. And I would like to see a return from Kyrie, as long as she's not dead.
To see a botch in a Nia Jax match is like a botch in a Sin Cara match. Of course, we're going to see it. Where will it be? How prominent will it be? How badly will the other person be hurt, or either of them be hurt by it? Those are your questions.
Well, Matthew, we'll check you out in a couple of weeks and see what Botchamania has in store.
How much does that guy rub his hands together when he sees Nia's on the card, eh? Like, oh yeah, baby.
Oh, get the tea on. Let's do this. Anyway, coming up next, what do you got for Drew McIntyre taking on Bobby Lashley for the WWE World Title?
I am honestly, maybe I'm calling me whatever, but I'm really looking forward to this match, and probably only this match. I'm actually,
and I think it's because of MVP.
Anticipated.
It's because of MVP. He is putting Bobby over like crazy on Raw, and it's working.
They whether it was up to MVP or his call or whatever, they pairing those two together, and the way they've gone with the character since this, it's finally the Bobby Lashley we should have had when he first came back from TNA. Right?
It would have felt like you could go straight to Brock at that point if he had come in
I
like
thought
this.
So.
Yeah,
I don't see why not, and that's why I'm not 100% convinced he doesn't win this title, because Lashley versus Brock at SummerSlam is arguably a bigger match than McIntyre versus
rematch.
Brock. The rematch at SummerSlam, right? I think Heyman, especially now you get Heyman in there as well.
Yeah.
You've got a match made for the ages. I've wanted to see Brock versus Bobby Lashley in wrestling or in an octagon for years now. Years. Yeah. So I don't care that it's taken till now. I think it now might even be the best time. Don't wait another 5 years, 10 years till it's an Undertaker versus Goldberg clusterfuck, and I got to watch old men dropping each other on their heads with it because they can't hit spears anymore. I want to see these guys fight now. I think that could be great. So, having said that, I got to pick McIntyre still because I don't think he's going to lose it yet. But what a great match that I don't know as well. Finally, thank you.
I'm torn too, and which is like where I'm actually going to take the different. I might take Bobby on this just because it's the WWE. They haven't had a big like surprise in a while. This is the one title where you can do that, and they could easily put it back on Drew in a month, and it's not going to hurt his reign, or the potential for Bobby to get it back at another point. But if they just want to test the waters, this is like the times that they usually do that kind of stuff, and. Yeah, sometimes
we're in this weird world with no. You can edit that word out because it will just get taken right off. We're in this weird world right now where without the crowds, right? How much is the reign going to count? Especially whether it ends early or if it extends into when crowds come back, different. But we don't know how long that's going to be. If it ends now, does that almost negate that he even held the title? And if it's not going to, then it doesn't hurt too much if they put it over to Bobby for a couple months, have the SummerSlam match. He retains against Lesnar, only to lose it back to McIntyre the following month. Now you've continued on. Him and McIntyre can be a 5-6 year battle for the rest of their time together in the Fed.
Yeah.
Once other guys coming and going, right?
Yeah, I think it's all about timing. Hopefully, if they don't, there's an opportunity here where you're not going to screw Bobby up like the way you have for the last little while. So I think just take your time, and let's keep our fingers crossed. And like, I also don't want to screw up Drew's run either. I think he's unfortunately losing out, that they haven't quite figured out how to work him without the crowds and stuff like that. And I think this is the good time to try new things because you don't have to worry about a crowd response too, right?
So much of his growth and his quick push and his quick ascension into where he got was the 1, 2, 3, right? The crowd going with it and the chant. So you lose all of that momentum in a heartbeat because there aren't crowds. And it'll be back instantaneously, plus some, because the pop of him being the champ now and everything else. Although even that, after 3 months in, that's going to be diminished somewhat. It's not like next night on Raw anymore.
No.
You're not cheering because the new champ has walked out. I mean, yes, there will be a massive heralding for whoever walks out, but like Teddy Long could come out on stage that first night that they have a crowd on Raw and get the biggest pop, bigger pop than Hulk Hogan used to hear in the 80s. Like, right? It'll be a Rock and Stone Cold style.
So, yeah, exactly. Anyone's going to be exciting to see. So yeah, we'll have to. Time will tell on those kind of things.
But again, as I said, I'm very excited. I'm very happy they're at least presenting a match. I can honestly say I don't know, right, and who's going to win it, and a hard time predicting what the outcome might be and how they'll get there. So that in its
perfect wrestling for me.
That's what I want. That's all I want. That's all I want.
That's all I want. Anyway, something I'm not too much wanting is Braun Strowman versus The Miz and Morrison.
Yeah.
Who do you have winning this match?
I don't care. I don't care.
They could all lose, and it's
have to win, right? They have to have the tag team win this. But we've seen Braun beat tag teams before. He beat the Bar up when they were so Braun Strowman's going to win.
He is the tag team division killer. He threw them all out of that Rumble, and then he won the belts with a child. I mean,
I was going to ask, is he going to pick a 12-year-old partner?
I mean, if there's any opportunity for Nicholas to come back, this is it. He doesn't have school. There's nowhere else for him to be.
You know what?
They put a mask on him.
Little bastard. Where is he? Get in the ring.
Unless his dad got fired or furloughed. I hadn't checked. I can't remember. But I think his dad rep is still around.
Well, it wouldn't. Finley still got a job, right? It was only his kid they laid off. It's not like it would be the first father-son relationship they split up with furloughs.
True. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm predicting a Nicholas comeback, and I'm predicting a Braun Strowman dominant victory and a goofy, stupid match again for Miz and Morrison. I can't believe this was what Morrison signed back up for. After all the work he did in the Indies, to be the king of the Indies, the king of like all this like new places that he could go. And I mean, it's hard to say what they would have done with him in AEW too. In my eyes, I'm not sure. Maybe the better place was Impact or something like that. I don't know what was better for him, but this does not feel like it was the best move.
I would argue, number one, he had a great home, and he was exactly where he had always said he wanted to be positioned on a card. I think he could have forged out something nice in Japan if he spent some time there as well as on top of. But I mean, again, maybe it had flourished more in AEW. Maybe it would have hit the same heights as on Impact. I don't know.
Yeah.
But what I do know is he must have known what was going to happen coming back here. He couldn't
I hope so.
It to be much different than this, and I definitely don't want to hear him complaining about it. So,
yeah. So
I feel for the guy, and I feel for the Miz. I feel for Dolph Ziggler. Like, how many guys on the roster can you feel for? Poor Bobby Roode. Like, he was the king of NXT. Where are you now, man? Where are you now, man?
You have one of the best entrance musics that's now been absolutely wasted. I'm sure you can hear it on Main Event if they still produce that program.
He should have been world champion with that theme.
Oh, it's guaranteed. Like how quickly they did it in NXT was just like, it almost felt too soon. We were just like, oh, are we doing this? Like, I get that this song is over, but is it more over than the guy? And like, I don't know if that ended up hurting him in the long run. It's so hard to say. But
no, I think just the move up hurt him in the long run.
Well,
the fact they had
that is a whole other different story we could do about move ups and like being the bad decision. But we'll see what happens there. Speaking of weird, bad decisions. The main event, I am absolutely sure, the greatest wrestling match ever, Edge versus Randy Orton. Who do you got?
Edge. I got to go with my hometown boy. Orangeville for life.
Hard for me not to pick Canadians. I understand how you feel. But
I'm
going with Randy Orton on this one. So yeah, you got Edge. What do you
heresy? Well, I honestly, I wouldn't be surprised just so that they can level it off at one apiece. I mean, what I find the most intriguing thing and most interesting about this match is the way both guys are making fun of it relentlessly on social media. I think today there were each of them some 16 different things with and Randy Orton was eating the greatest ever sandwich.
Right.
Edge last night sang the greatest ever lullaby to his daughter Ruby. It's hysterical, the garbage that they're saying, because they both realize their biggest fight is with the marketing department. And they hate the fact they've called this the greatest wrestling match ever. It's almost like they can't end it any other way than a 6-second dick kick, right?
Well, okay, again, what we know, it's been pre-taped. What they released on Observer is that it's like a little over a half hour, between a half hour and 40 minutes or whatever. So, again, that's why I assume this card is like the 7 matches that have been announced. Like, we're probably not going to get the Intercontinental title or the Raw Tag titles or anything.
Won't be on pay-per-view. What?
But but they've been pushing it so hard on SmackDown, and it's again AJ and SmackDown, AJ and Daniel Bryan, a match you could absolutely have to push this pay-per-view, which I don't even think we'll see on it. It's hard to say. This is taped way before SmackDown, so
this is what we said before, though. If you thought that the Intercontinental title was just being held down, or because it was on Sami Zayn or because it was on Shinsuke Nakamura.
No, it's just forgotten.
They just don't care about the Intercontinental title anymore.
Yeah.
It's in the same spot as the Tag Team Championships and
which we also
the
are
US title and the Cruiserweight Championship. They care more, and there's more prestige as far as the company is concerned in the NXT Championship. Arguably the NXT Women's Championship than there is the Intercontinental or US or Tag Team titles.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely true. So, I think that, again, this comes down to the too many belts, and again, a whole other discussion about a retooling that they need there to just sort of refocus and get some more, something to strive for in all these different divisions. But yeah, again, back to this match, I got Randy taking it. At first I thought it was just a big troll act from them at first, and then I think from the stuff this week and then the other things they were saying, like from Meltzer but Alvarez on the Observer, saying that someone had questioned whether this was a leftover from what was supposed to be the Saudi event, because everything over there is the greatest this or the greatest that or the greatest whatever. So I could totally believe that, and that's why the name is stuck, and that it's just going to be a fucking regular match between these guys, the same one we get every time, with just something at the end. Maybe I'd like to see them team back up. I'd rather see Edge turn heel right now, because without the crowds there, you don't have to worry about them cheering him. Like, to turn him heel isn't going to hurt him at all. So I'm thinking the same thing with the Street Profits. If they end up doing something different with them, I wouldn't be opposed, because this is the time to do it when no one's around to tell you you're wrong.
A little bit of the sidetrack with the Street Profits, but after the bit on Monday this week, how do they go anywhere other than these four become a 4-man tag team? Right? I mean, haven't they just done nothing but build respect, camaraderie, and friendship between the four of them? How are they supposed to have a match now? I love
that happened with like Sheamus and Cesaro. They're just like, well, now we are the Bar.
Yeah. Like, they're gonna become the Street Vikings, I guess. The Viking Profit Raiders.
You'll swap. You get like Eric and Montez, and then
how do they ever take each other on?
Yeah.
No, it's a disaster zone. The whole thing's fucked. But Randy and Edge, though, I read the one thing on Twitter suggested by a few different people in different timelines that this is WWE's way of trying to subvert Google searches, that by a casual fan or a newcomer to type in greatest wrestling match ever will now get Edge versus Randy Orton, because that's how Google works and the algorithm runs. So they won't get Kenny Omega and Okada or any other AEW match or anything else that Meltzer's 5-starred. You'll get Edge versus Randy Orton for Backlash.
As far as conspiracies go, we might be getting that. Might be the dark side of the ring we get next. Is the dark web? It's the dark web side of the ring. We'll see what happens.
That's funny.
I think that's what we should end on.
Is it something you would put past them to try if they thought that would work? Look, if I thought calling this the greatest wrestling podcast ever would actually get it rated by Google as the greatest, I'd take a stab at it. I don't think it works that way. But we don't have WWE in our actual initials at the end of the thing. They do. I don't know.
It's very true. Well, we'll find out this Sunday at Backlash when Edge takes on Randy Orton in what may just be the greatest wrestling match ever. All right, Chris. Well, another Low Blow Radio.
Thanks for listening to what might have been the greatest wrestling podcast ever.
Yeah, well, we can say it might be a new name. We can say, this is Low Blow now, but next week when it's different, you'll know why. We've done our research and things will have changed. All right, well, see you all then when we probably are back to talk about AEW next week. So I'll see you then,
next
Chris.
Week, if not before. Take care, sir. Thank you.
All right, you too. Talk to you then. Goodbye.
Take it easy.